Hi, I'm Rev Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. This year, I'm going through the text, reading and asking for clarity, and then writing from that clarity. But today, what I want to share with you is a little different. I want to share one of my articles that I wrote. And the name of that article was Kindness Created Me Kind. So let's get started. I've strived to be a kind person, to treat each other's kindly, and to dream of my brother's kindness instead of dwelling in my dream on his mistakes. Sometimes it felt like a struggle, many battles fought and some won, but the effort seemed to be endless. And yet I knew it must be possible because in Lesson 67, I'm told that love created me like itself and that kindness created me kind. And I know that what God creates remains as he created it. God created me kind, so how is it that I felt the need to struggle to express what I am? I was not actually struggling to be kind, but was struggling to overcome the ego tendency toward judgment and defensiveness. As over the years, my mind was healed and became clear, kind is simply what I am. Jesus expresses this transformation perfectly in chapter 5 of the text. How can you who are so holy suffer? All your past except its beauty is gone, and nothing is left but a blessing. I have saved all your kindnesses and every loving thought you ever had. I have purified them of the errors that hid their light and kept them for you in their own perfect radiance. Well, thank you so much for that. I've been thinking about this transformation and my part in it. The transformation itself is not for me to do. It is the Holy Spirit that heals. My part, however, is essential. I had to desire to heal. You would think this would be easy, and certainly it turned out to be easy, but at first it felt difficult indeed. The difficulty was that I wanted two things, and the two things were in opposition to each other. I wanted both separation and wholeness. The problem is obvious, right? It didn't always seem so obvious to me, though, because I was confused. I was confused about my very nature. I thought I was both body and spirit, both human and divine. Everything became simple and easy once that basic misunderstanding was cleared up. I'm not a body and I'm not a human being. These identifications are an illusion, something we made up in order to have an experience, and not what we are. We decide what we want to experience. We choose images to represent these desires, and the stage is set. We come onto the stage fully involved in the play with no memory of how we got here. It reminds me of my favorite movie, Inception. In this movie, there's a dream within a dream within a dream. Much as happens here in our own dream of separation. In the movie, one character points out to another that when we dream, we find ourselves in the middle of it with no memory of how we got there. Again, this is much the same as we experience in the dream of a world filled with separate bodies. We're here without a memory of how that happened. We're clever at disguising this problem through procreation so that we can go on believing in the stories we live. But that doesn't change the fact that this is only an elaborate dream. Once I figured it out, I could see clearly that the world is just a manifestation of the beliefs in our mind. What a clever thing we have done. Now we can look at these beliefs and interact with the beliefs. We can feel the effects of that interaction and decide we want to keep the belief or let it go to the Holy Spirit, who will purify it for us. We cannot change our reality, but we can dream for as long as we want to, or as long as we can withstand the pain and suffering. No matter how long we delay the process, eventually we will return to our true state as the divine beings we are. It's a gentle transformation, sometimes taking many years, many lifetimes. But what we actually are cannot be undone. We are as God created us, and nothing that we do within this illusion can change that. Actually, it is a belief that we did change our nature that is the problem. When we accept that this is all fun and games, we have no problem accepting our nature as kindness, and that kindness moves through us and is extended naturally and without any effort on our part. When we take the world seriously and believe that we have succeeded in separating ourselves from God, we think we have separated from our true nature as well. Now, instead of naturally extending love, it feels like moving through quicksand to do this. We belong to God, and to think we have undone this is frightening and creates an overwhelming sense of guilt in our minds. Our cockeyed solution to this guilt is to fling it out of ourselves and onto the others who share the stage with us. It doesn't work because it is our true nature that thoughts do not leave their source. So all we accomplish is more guilt for trying to hurt others. It's easy to see now why we have to struggle to be kind. How can we be kind to those we need to be the scapegoats for our guilt? Once I began to understand what was going on and how awful this dream was, I became determined to awaken from it. I began to watch my thoughts like a hawk. I knew that it was my thoughts that gave form to everything in the dream. As Jesus tells us in lesson 15, my thoughts are images that I have made. He also tells us it is because the thoughts you think appear as images that you do not recognize them as nothing. You think them, and so you think you see them. This is how your seeing was made. This is a function you've given the body's eyes. It is not seeing. It is image making. It takes the place of seeing, replacing vision with illusions. And he also says, there are no idle thoughts. All thinking produces form at some level. These thoughts of mine are making up everything in the dream. So if I want to undo the dream, I must change my thoughts. And this is what I've done. I noticed that I was projecting guilt onto my brothers and sisters, and I dedicated myself to changing my mind. There's no way I can be kind if I think I'm guilty. I can act as if I'm kind, and sometimes I will seem like a kind person, but the guilt will out me. Where once I was kind, soon I will be cruel. I won't be able to help myself if I believe in guilt. I will judge and I will attack, and I will feel justified in doing so. The only solution is to give up the belief in guilt. It's not actually hard, though it might feel hard at first. Each situation will feel like it's different and special, and this is what I had to overcome. I forgave each separate instance in which guilt showed up and did this for a long time. Finally, I saw the pattern and realized that while guilt shows up in different forms, the belief that guilt is real is the only thing that needs to be undone. Then it went a lot faster. I accepted that I'm not the character I play in the story of Myron, and that I am the unaffected self that cannot be changed. Since I know I am an extension of God, and since I cannot conceive of God as suffering from guilt, I knew that guilt could not be real, and therefore I could not be guilty. Without suffering from the belief in guilt myself, I have no desire to see guilt in anyone else. Now I can be truly kind because nothing interferes with my true self. And when I change my mind and return to the belief in guilt, as sometimes happens, I'm gentle with myself. I'm kind to myself. Here's something from the Course that brings me joy to read. Today I am redeemed and born anew into a world of mercy and of care, of loving kindness and the peace of God. I can change the word today to now or once again, because in each moment I am redeemed and the world becomes new. It becomes a world of mercy and of care, of loving kindness and the peace of God. And that's from lesson 106. Thank you so much for joining me in this reading of my article. I hope that you found it helpful, maybe inspiring. If so, then please like it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. And thanks so much to those of you who have already subscribed. And I'll be back tomorrow with another reading. See you then.